I have this linden tree here, and this linden tree has not been pruned this year. Actually, this is all grown this year. If we compare the growth on this linden to this air layer of the shoyo maple, you can already see why I think this is not all that great. Look at this massive extension that we've got. This was layered last year. Yeah, I think there's also a video on it. I think everything is on a video meanwhile. Anyway, this is healthy, it is growing. Now, frequent visitors of this channel might know this linden tree because it's featured in, I think, 2 videos. One of them is pulling a tree out of the ground and potting it up. And the second one is on root work. So the one thing that I do know about this tree, it has gone through a lot of stress. One of the things I very often see happening on fora or on social media is beginners that have problems with their tree straight away going into repotting mode, assuming that everything that's wrong with the tree is about the roots. Well, it might be, but there are other factors as well. The other thing I know about this tree, actually, so there's 2 things I know about this tree, is that the substrate it is in is actually pretty perfect. So you need to play a little bit of a detective and look at what really is going on. Now, what else could be the problem with this tree? Oh, what does a tree need to grow healthily? Well, of course, it needs water, it needs fertilizer, it needs sunshine. It needs a substrate that's well aerated and is not full of water, but moist. And basically those are the main conditions. And on top of that, there shouldn't be any diseases. Normally, when you have those first 5 in place, number 6 is not such a big deal. Now, let's look at this, right? Let's have a look at where it normally sits. That's here underneath this massive, massive fig. Look at how much this has grown this year, and actually I have pruned it back multiple times, and look at how many figs this is carrying. But let me not get carried away. Basically, it sits here against the wall. That's south, full sun, except for this tree growing over it, and between all these cuttings that I have here. So it sits here in the back. And that might actually be part of the problem. It's not getting all that much sun. So the tree doesn't sit in a really, really great position. There's not a lot of light. How about nutrients? Nutrients and water. These are watered very frequently in that spot because it is my area with cuttings. It is out of direct wind. It only gets a bit of sun. Yes, it is in full sun, but only for a few hours. So the fig tree takes that. The fig tree makes sure that there is sunshine, but also shade. However, it's sitting in the corner with my cuttings means that I don't fertilize as often as I fertilize my other trees. So that's one of the things that I could fix. And for fertilizer, I'm now using something. These are actually chicken manure pellets. I've just bought 20 or 30 kilos once. I've got a big bucket sitting in the corner, and it is quite aggressive. It's quite sharp, so you need to make sure there's lots of watering happening. If I don't burn the roots, this will really give it a boost. Besides too little light, there's this other thing here. On these leaves, there's these little bits popping out. And this is actually from an aphid or a mite. I'll have to check, but this is a little cocoon. And there's animals who start sucking the leaf responds to it, and they basically have these little houses where they live. So they sit in these little things. I could pull them all off, just like this, take a bit of a scissor or my nails and just pop them off. But I didn't do that in spring, because basically I think these animals also have a right to live here. Which brings me back to the question, what am I going to do with this linden tree? I know the substrate is good. I think the roots are okay, because I did lots of root work last year. And I'm assuming that it might be the cause why this is starting up slowly in spring. But it's not the reason why it's not growing on in spring. That is based on probably 2 factors, maybe 3. One of them, lack of fertilizer. I've not been fertilizing this all this much. Then, linden needs sun. It's not in such a sunny position. And then, well, the third one is, of course, all the animals that are sitting on the leaves. But for now, I'm going to presume this is a symptom rather than a cause. So what am I going to do now with this linden tree? I'm going to fertilize it. I'm going to heavily give it an organic fertilizer. It's going to be very nice and wet for the next 1 or 2 weeks, so the plant will get a big boost. As we are past the peak of summer, I don't expect this linden tree to start growing anymore this year. It will grow next year. Then I'm going to put it in a sunnier spot. As it is nice and cloudy, I can put it in a spot which will get full sun. So as soon as the clouds break open, this is exposed to more sun. I think the risk of sunburn is minimal. And then I'm just going to let it do its thing. And in spring, I will monitor the leaves and see what the leaves have done. And let's give it a nice sunny spot behind my tridents and between the olives and the pomegranates. That's the sunniest spot that I have besides between my pines. But here at least I water frequently. I might as well give it a little bit of styling, because this stuff is really flexible. You can really wire it out and position it as you want. So let's see how far we get. So wired with reasonably thick wire. And now let's see whether I can get this to become a real secondary trunk. Look at how nice and flat that root ball now is. This is perfect, perfect, perfect. Now if I plant it up like this, I really have a nice spreading linden tree ready for the next year. Considering how it was fairly weak over summer, I'm not going to do anything on the roots. It has a nice flat root ball. Here the bark is okay. All these scars is from the pruning earlier this year. I can now just plant it. I've made a little bit of a mound of substrate, spread the roots out over it, gently sit it down in the position that you want it. Gently, radially, horizontally, fill it up with substrate, and it's ready to go outside in the garden for the year. I do admit, I cracked the branch. I think the top might die off, but then I have a new top here. And of course, this is very, very modest material, right? This is nothing exceptional, this is nothing special, but give this time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. As it fills up and the trunk thickens, this will become a very reasonable small bonsai. Naturally, here in the back, new branches need to appear. So over summer, it's important that this side is facing the sun. So more buds can pop here. But I'm now just going to put it outside. Early spring, it's pushing, but it is not happy yet. Needs a little bit of TLC. To be honest, I'm really disappointed in how this tree is developing. It is becoming an example of why trying to be fast with your trees slows your development down. Of course, last year it was weak. This winter I repotted it, I wired it out and I planted it in a pot, but I would have expected a little bit more growth. There are some leaves, the top has died, the branch here has died, so I'm going to have to fertilize and water quite carefully and just hope for the best. And otherwise this is all I'm getting on this tree for this year. Fingers crossed I'm getting another push of growth. Right, we are early July and it's a little bit late, but this tree is really not responding all that well. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to hope that this will resprout the second time for this year and therefore start growing again. Mind you, linden trees are known for not resprouting later in the season, so it might already be too late. But then that is in the video that I've pruned this back, actually defoliated this too late. And this is only because I'm not sure what is ailing it and whether it is maybe something that is in the leaves. I hope that I get a new crop of leaves and then they are healthier and they start growing. We'll see. Otherwise this video won't come out this year. It will be another year and I'll show you next year whether it has recovered from this or not. Right, pretty much done. Let's see what this do. Let's see in August what this has done. Now I must admit I was a little bit worried for this tree and I am really happy to see it is now pushing. It is not pushing well, but it is pushing. And all the way here until the end of the branch tips and even here the buds are slowly opening. And yeah, these have produced 2, 3 leaves each. And I hope that now the rest of summer will have this linden regain strength. Because I really want to show that these trees, they can handle a lot as long as you give them the time to recover. Let me just clip this off here because that really is a dead branch. All the way to the top, don't need it. But besides that, it is getting somewhere. This is really on its way now to recovery. Although it is not completely happy, defoliation has helped a lot. There's a new crop of leaves, a little bit of new extension growth. This is just sitting in the sun, waiting for next year. Maybe I can unwire this winter, but so far the wire is not biting in, so I can just leave it on. It is October and very clearly this linden is now showing it is the end of the growing season. So what I'm going to do, this is quite long. This is quite long, so I'm going to prune this back. Then look for suitable little side branches here, prune this back. And this one as well is quite long, prune it back. Come. Right, now it's a lot more compact. And this is still the top of the tree. These are probably going to be the side branches that I keep, but there is a little bud there. There is some good growth here. It's full time, it's going to go back in the garden, and we'll wait for spring to see how this responds. I love it when a plant comes together. Look at this tree, full of health, starting to push. It's April, I'm going to fertilize it a little bit more. I'm going to let it grow a little bit more. Might indeed remove some of these weeds. And then maybe I'll finish this video in a couple of weeks when I see that this is indeed continuing to push. But so far so good. Now you can see this tree is back to health, full of life. 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of leaves on every single branch, except for the ones where I did a little bit of pruning. And I can see the buds starting to swell for the second push of the year. I might actually stimulate that a little bit and take my scissors, remove all the leaves and push that second and get that second push. But that's not for this video, that's for another video because this one is done. So hey, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think of videos like this that covers multiple years. This was Jelle, growing bonsai, and see you next time.